Dit is hartstikke awesome Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I am Jeff Doss, and we have with us the world famous, world champion, Marcel Jones. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, sir. Pretty good, friends, for sure.
Yes, friends. Yes. I'm excited for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. What's up, Will? How are you doing? You guys that are joining us now, go ahead and share. Tell everyone, drop in the comments. Let us know who's watching. And, man, we're going to have a great show and a lots of, heck, there may be some debates. There may be some just educational stuff, some fun topics, and we're just going to have a blast. And, again, like you said, definitely hanging out and chopping up with some friends. So that's what's going to be fun.
You know, one of the things,
And Elijah.
Jeff, you know, one of the things I love about Marcel, too, is Marcel's he's a real dude. I'm talking about him like he's not right here. I know, my bad. Sorry, Marcel.
No, you're good. You're good.
But you acquire so many friends and friendships and just people that, like, there's times where you look back at the sport and you're like, man, I'm so grateful for the sport. Look at who I got to meet. There's that. But then you also become, like, air quotes here, friends with a lot of people. And sometimes you wonder, like, I don't know, like, are we? Marcel will literally be upset with me if he finds out I was in Atlanta and I didn't call him, that I didn't let him know that I was there. Like, I'll hear later,
Yeah, I'm
like,
that dude.
wait a minute, you were here and you didn't let me know. I let you know when I'm in your town.
Facts.
So, and then you're like, man, what was I thinking? All right.
Yeah, the friendship's not a facade with me. I tried not to be a facade.
Bingo.
You know, we can travel to compete. We should travel to, fellowship.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. I think I catch myself doing that so much of just like, you know what, I'm focused on this, and go to this, and everything's work, or everything's martial arts, and you're like, you know what? You can have some trips without martial arts involved, and you can also go to some trips seeing martial arts without having to be a tournament involved. You know what I mean?
Man, facts. Yeah. I've got great friends, period, because of martial arts, right? And do family things, like we all know Carmichael Simon. That's a good, close friend. That's somebody that, as a kid, I would have thought that I'd have a friendship, let alone like close personal one. And when you fly out to go to his son's high school graduation, that's what you
shut up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, every time I'm in Texas, he getting hit up, and I'm chilling at the house, and he's welcome to mine.
Yeah, that's the best, man. And yeah, I always like pinch myself too. I'm like, wait, I'm friends with Carmichael. Wait, what the heck? And like when I still come back as like a kid. I'm like, wait, Carmichael sounds calling me. What the heck's going on?
Yeah, sure,
I remember Battle of Atlanta, me staying up all night, just like thinking about, man, I get to meet Carmichael tomorrow. I'm going to get his autograph. I'm going to do this or that. Like the 92, 93 Battle of Atlanta, and just so excited. It was like, man, what the heck, So
yeah, for sure.
Cool. It's so cool.
It's funny like that. And not a lot of people like today know my brother Marcel. I know you know Adam. All right. And on that same line, I called Adam and I'm like, yo, man, you're never gonna believe who I just had like an hour conversation with. Well, I told him it was Carmichael, and he's like, no, you didn't. Stop. No, you didn't. I'm like, word, it was legit.
Yeah, very engaging guy, man. Good soul. My man Mickey Lee, great seeing him, in the comments.
Yeah, guys, so we had some big things with the Martial Arts Center Network that happened this weekend, and we dropped our main app, which is what we've been working on, what Travis has been working on for so long. And guys, if you have not check that out. Go to on Apple, look up Martial Arts Inner Network. All right. And that app will come up. Also, we have these new shirts. So again, if you want to, you can try to.
Yeah, why don't you position yourself? I don't know if anybody can like
There we
get the
go.
QR
Try to
code
do that. Take your phone. Do that. It goes to it. So where you could go to Apple or Google. All right. And so what's really cool with the app, probably the first feature, that anytime there is a live stream of sport martial arts tournament on anything, it will pop up on the main app. Okay. So you don't have to think, oh, let me search which page I'm going to need. What I'm going to do. No, there's a tournament going on. Look on Martial Arts Inner Network, and you're going to see at the top of all of our videos, the live stream coming up, the most recent one coming up. So you can check all that out all in one place. Right. And what's cool as well is this works with all the other places. So it's not like we're taking any YouTube views from anybody or this, that. No, they're getting those views. We're just putting it all in one place for you to go to, you know. Same thing with, you can search all the top competitors right now, NASCO, WACO, WKC. And when you search, say, let's look Bailey Murphy up, his face will come up, all of his information about him come up, and then all the YouTube videos, all the videos of him will come up, right? So it's a great place at the tip of your fingers where you can do that and check that out. Also, we have rankings that are pretty much updated every week based on who you beat, not just, you know, like NASCA points and things like that. No, we have all kinds of different people on there. So there's a lot of it, and all of our podcasts are in one spot. So you guys can go and look at all the podcasts, look at Inside Scoop, and look at every episode, video or audio, both of those. So it's going to be great. And so, guys, our goal is to, you know, it's just to start getting this out there. So we need your help. If you support this show all of these years, go and download the app. And let's go. But yeah, this weekend was big and busy for Travis. He told me he's running on 4 hours of sleep right now because he was asking if we needed him tonight. I said, no, man, you're good. Go rest up. Because I was at the tournament in Charlotte this weekend. He flew in, went there, you know, promoted it, talked to different people, and then he got on a plane, went to New York for Jesse's tournament, did that all day, and then flew back to Atlanta for work. So yeah, so it was wild. I'm sure there were some other stops away too, but that's Travis.
I went to Jesse's tournament last year, you know, talking about like that friend thing, right? You know, Ketsugan brothers. So
yep, that's right. That's right. So again, guys, thank you for that support, and we will give you more information as you go along. If you got any questions, text us or message us. All right, Marcel. So like, man, we're all over this. Honestly, we just kind of said, hey, we have a couple topics, but like, I just know you,
for Marcel.
You're going to get on like something else, and we'll just kind of go and roll on it. So I think the last time, man, it was a long time when you were in here, and we had you, Mike Welch, and Lauren on together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Man, we
was a good
up
show.
and had a great time, and that was so much fun. One of the things, let's actually talk about kind of what you and I were talking about before when I said, hey, I just finished a lesson, right? And what I've noticed and what's cool about yourself and myself is that we've been in this game since the 90s, 80s, 90s, and people are still reaching out to us to mold them into where they want to be, right? And I feel like it's something with our generation, you know, like that. Not just, I mean, again, I'm not saying the new generation aren't good instructors or whatever like that, but there's a reason that there are people that still go to you. Let's just say that to you for training, right? And for creating and preparing their form. So, what's your mindset with that, man? Like, how do you? Let's just say, hey, I have a student, and I want you to start working with them. What's the first thing you look at first when you say, okay, I'm going to take you on?
Well, the first thing I do is I talk about it, you know, before we get into the physical approach or aspect. I'm very goal oriented, and like, but getting people to structure their goals. So I'm big into SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable. I made the R revisable instead of realistic, and then time bound. So I'm like, what's your goal? And they say they want to win. You cannot try to control an uncontrollable. So, I'm like, let's be more specific. I want to get better at my Japanese kata or my traditional form or creative. I'm getting exhausted. What is the end result that you're getting that you want to change, right? That you can control. You can't control the score that goes up, but you can control how long you're in the ring, things like that. So first, I get them to really tell me a goal that makes sense, right? And then I identify like what they're currently doing in their process. Because to tell you the truth, there was a big chunk there where I wasn't doing private lessons with many people. Like, I work with like Avery Presley, but I say like she was grandfathered in because I trained her brothers. But there was a point in time where I went years where if you weren't a certain age, I wasn't going to train you privately because there was a certain discipline that you just had to have.
Correct.
And I think the reason why our generation attracts current generation, athletes is there's gaps in each generation. I was talking with somebody who we were talking about earlier, and I just kept it honest from my perspective. I was like, the guys that we looked up to, you can name them. They didn't have a karate school.
Yep.
They didn't have their own team except for Chad, right?
Yeah.
They didn't run camps. So the people that we looked up to really didn't teach our generation. They were so dope and so talented. We looked up to them, and then we developed our technique and our style just based off of what we saw. Our generation, in my opinion, I think really took control of the instruction, right? Our generation have schools, right? Look at Mike Welch.
Right.
Mark Canizzato, Florida Sports, right? Our generation had teams, pro rank, Emick, right? And so we really took the instruction to the next level, in my opinion, with schools, with camps, with seminars.
Yep.
And when you do that for quite a while at a deep level, you get certain results that are different from other people and their results. And so then the generation after us were super talented because they were our students, right? Super talented, but they don't have a team. Yep. Super talented, they don't have a school. And so you do a private lesson with them, they're not able to translate and transfer their skill set in an instructional manner the way that we were, in my opinion. And that's why we have people that are of a younger age or younger generation coming to us, and they're passing that middle area, right? And, I've got a student who, trained with some really, really exceptional martial artists, some that I work with, and had gone to various competitions and didn't yield certain results. And then just after consistently, working with me, they got those desired results. It doesn't mean that I'm the person that was like the determining factor, but I told the parent to just listen. I will never tell you not to train with somebody. I'll never do that. But I will tell you that when you train with them, this is what you should focus on. I will be that specific. And then I was like, really, I want you to listen to my delivery, my approach. And as a parent and as an athlete, you need to be honest with yourself. And are you getting the value you want out of working with them or working with this person or that person? Because so many people say, oh, they got first place, let me train with them. That doesn't mean they can teach. That means they can compete. That means they are exceptional at their skill set. That doesn't mean they can foster and develop yours. So people just have to get, they have to get real, honestly. Yeah. But I think our generation stood out with running schools and camps and seminars and managing teams.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you look at all of us from that, like we all have schools, or we have, like you said, ran a team, or and there's little things that when we talk, we notice, and it seems like certain generations don't, right? Or it's not as much of a thing. For us, we have to see the fight, in the form. We have to we have to really focus on, again, like feet, like stances, like your ground, your foundation, right? And there's so many things that that go to that. For me, something I always focus on is, okay, let's see what's going on. I'm having a hard time with this move. Okay, well, let's start all the way back to the basic of where that move comes from, right? We got to start from the ground up. We got to go back to our roots. We got to figure it out. And literally, like, and I think we've had this thought too, like, okay, well, stop doing this. Let's go back. If you can't, you're having a problem with this, let's go back to our spin hook kick and see what's going on there. Or let's go back to just get on the ground and just start. Let's do your kick from the ground, you know, especially like when I'm teaching a side kick. A lot of times everybody wants to do, they're like, oh, I'm so good. I don't need to put my hand on the wall anymore. Or I don't need to go on the ground and work my side kick anymore. Like, okay, well, here's the deal. Like, I do this all the time. So if I can do it, you can do it. Okay. It's not about balance or whatever. It's about focusing in on the little things that are going to make a difference. Right. And so I know you and I have talked about this many times. Like, and this is what you were talking about, Alex, was just like, literally him and I would see each other at battle and we would just sit, we would be like, wow, an hour and a half has gone by. Okay. I guess we probably should do something.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
It's just
I want to piggyback on that. So, you know, what was interesting is when Marcel, when you were at my school, Jesus, was probably almost 10 years ago now. Right. And he pops in, Jeff. He pops in just to do some fighting, just to hang out. And he's like, hey, you got a class? Well, let's teach him. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're just coming in to hang out at the house, you know, met Lindsay and we were having a great time. And then I'm telling you,
from Wisconsin too.
Yeah, for years, whoever just happened to be there at that time, everybody in the school knew about that one experience. And there was maybe, what was there, like 15, 20 people max?
Yeah.
And the whole school of like 400, all right, would talk about that because they still used like some of those little nuances like from that moment. And everybody talked about it like, oh man, you should have seen when he had us on the wall, right? And black belts. But then Jeff, what you're just saying, like, oh, I'm good and I don't need the wall for my sidekicks anymore. Like that sentence doesn't make sense.
Correct.
No, but to piggyback off that, and like because the show you mentioned, I came to fight, right? And most people in the sport martial arts world may know me from my forms competition and those are results. But like you're a true martial artist, which is the art of self-defense, you should fight well or you should at least like or love fighting, right?
Yep.
And that's something we definitely, you know, the three of us have in common. And I think when you condition your body to strike an opponent, to be objective and hit a target, you condition your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments a certain way, and it translate into your forms. And so speed, power, intensity, and technique, those four characteristics I focus on when I teach private lessons. And they have to be present no matter if it's CMX or traditional, right? Speed, power, intensity, technique, it doesn't matter CMX or otherwise. And, you know, once again, I think our generation was in the school a certain way, right? We didn't get the black belt and didn't do specialized training. We still took the regular class. We still fought, right? And our bodies.
We were martial artists from the 90s, but we competed probably at our peaks in the 2000s. Well, Jeff doesn't have a peak, right?
He's just been good. Yeah.
Jeff's like a vampire. He just always exists.
Sometimes I look like a vampire. So.
No, for sure. I mean, I came and then like my first black belt, you know, Joe Corley fighting, you know what I'm saying? So, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing with our systems. You know, a lot of us came from systems that had multiple champions, right? Or there was like in my system, you know, my instructor had many great people, but he also had Eddie Thomas, who taught John Valera. and then he was under it. Then you had Sean Elliott who was one of his students who also was teaching other people. And so we had forums fighting everybody that would come together. You also had Seneca Luther that was in town that would come by and train. So you had all of the best just all around there. And even if maybe they weren't in that town, you knew, whoa, this guy came from this way that we're doing. So I'm gonna focus, on that and continue that. I mean, most of the kicking drills and the wall kicking drills, like I learned as 6, 7, 8-year-old, doing those and still do those today,
Correct.
So, correct. So, as you were talking about us fighting, this is actually, I don't even know if we even told you about this topic, but this weekend I'm at a tournament. I judge 30 minutes. I get up, I go do my Korean form. I come back, I judge for another 2 hours, and I come back and I do my grands, come back and I start fighting the rest of judging fighting with Jeremy Roque, right? And so I'm a corner, he's the center. We've had several different ones that kind of popped in and out, but we were having a blast, right? And what's funny is that, of course the joke was, he can't, he can do more than just, Korean forms or whatever else. Look, he could actually judge fighting too. Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Both of us, though, truthfully, because of where we've been in, not just in sport karate as competitors, but as promoters, most of the time now we coordinate, right? I run tournaments a lot of times in the area. He does, all over the place as well. And so for us both to be judging was kind of a rare thing. And so it was a lot of fun. But the topic for me was forms champions judging fighting. And then, of course, we can go the opposite way, right, as far as that. So one of the things that's funny is a lot of people say, why do we have a forms guy judging fighting? Some people will say that. Let's just throw it out. Say that about Reed. And honestly, Reed Presley is a good fighting judge.
He is.
The thing that all of these fighters want is better technique to be thrown, right? And better, and the whole time Kareem is behind me yelling, that wasn't a reed chamber, they're just doing this or that. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, yeah, like I'm noticing all these things, but that's my game. Like, honestly, in some ways, this could be a debate. Forms competitors should be your best fighting judges if you want clean technique, right? Because they know that is what they're focusing on all the time, right? So it's a
Correct.
very
Quite the argument.
Yeah, it's quite the argument. It's like, okay. So let's get people, if you want better technique and clean up the sport, maybe, you know what, like maybe have some of these guys that can do that, right? I don't know. What's your thought on that, Marcel?
No, I mean, I agree. I think, maybe to simplify more, I think a good martial artist will be able to judge anything.
Exactly.
I don't really see and/or hear or heard forms competitors complaining that a fighter was judging them. Now, maybe it's because that doesn't happen that often, but they mainly just talk about the score that the judge gave them. They don't know the qualifications of said judge, right?
Correct. Right.
I do think that we need to, hard code, and we being the tournament circuits and the tournaments themselves need to have it more hard coded what the rules are, right? So don't be afraid to say, full extension of the arm and demonstrate what that is, or or the foot, the certain target, a certain part of the body needs to touch a specific part of the body. Like, I think we've been too simplistic for too long, right? We need to evolve. Okay. There's the Olympics have had it for years, right? A technical score, right? An execution score, depending on the performance, right? If it's gymnastics or ice skating, things like that. And so that's the form side. But for fighting, for sure, you should definitely want a forms person because they know what good or clean technique is. Now, if you're saying that they can't see right and can't tell that something did or didn't hit, that's one thing, right? But and I think if there is a complaint that's happening and it's kind of growing and getting more volume, then it's probably not the individual judge or the types of judges. It's just not holding to a standard of judging. It's not holding to a standard of competitors need to do a certain way, because you'll see people complain the same thing about weapons. They're just throwing it up in the air if it's a bow. Like, oh, you want to see more strikes? Hard code that in there, right?
Yep.
60% of the form needs to be striking, not manipulating, not the weapon, not in your hand. We're doing something that doesn't hit the opponent. A figure eight around the back is not hitting somebody.
Right. And if I can't hear you, I can't hear your strikes, right? Especially if it's a bow. Like,
that's
a
exactly
problem, right? That's a problem.
Yeah, we're not doing theoretical martial arts here.
Right. Exactly. And so it's I've said that for a long time too, Marcel. It's like we got to put more. And again, a lot of times people say the word criteria, but put that in there of how much it is, because a lot of people are saying just go off thinking that it is in there, and really you look at the rule, it's not in there of
correct
how you should be or whatever, and a lot, even with the fighting, it's some rules say a martial arts technique that touches a legal scoring area. Some say a clean martial arts technique, right? So it's very interesting on what that word means, right?
There's more. It's actually easier to look at the rules and be able to look at forms and go, okay, I understand the rules, right? With fighting, it's more of like, well, this is just, we just don't do it that way, right? It's more of a culture. Like, you could throw a front kick in fighting. There's not one thing against the rules. It is a legal technique. As long as you throw it and it lands to the appropriate target area, right?
Correct.
I can only remember seeing it like one time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I've seen it more than
if
that.
It did land, you're like someone's gonna laugh, all right? Someone's gonna laugh at either the person who got hit or the person who threw it, or both, right? Because it's like
laughing at Marty Eubanks, bro. I'm not doing it.
But that's
laughing at him.
But something like that is like doing an underhanded throw for a free throw in basketball. Like, okay, I suppose you could, but why would you? Right? Yeah. And so if you were to look at just the way rules are written in fighting, and you didn't know the culture of the fighting, and you just looked at the rules and go, oh, okay, I could do that, you might have a totally different look as to what that fighting performance would look like unless you knew the culture. So having a forms competitor who's a good fighter, right, or at least fights, that forms competitor doesn't have to be really good. They can just also fight and just be a good martial artist. I thought John Su was pretty good. He was all right. All right. I don't think I ever saw John Su like at the adult level competing to win his weight division. Right. But he was a good fighter. Right.
He was capable of, though.
Yeah. Bingo. Exactly.
He was capable of winning each one. He wasn't deficient in an area of martial arts that he competed in.
Correct.
Weapons, he was respected.
Open, traditional. Correct.
But we respected him. And if John, I think he was like a corner ref in one of my fights before. I'm pretty sure. All right. And I looked at that like, right, checks out pretty good. There's been plenty of times where we go and we look at a guy in the corner and be like, I have no clue who you are. This is the first time my eyes have ever laid eyes on you. I have a feeling there's a possibility this is the first time you've ever been in an arena like this. Right. And we just go, okay, looks like we're going. All right. Because what else are you going to do?
But to go to the front kick thing. And I mean, this could maybe go into another area, maybe a topic we want to expound upon. I mean, but there just need to be better standards to, like I was saying before about, judging like forms. And I see Mickey commented about the technical and execution score. Mm-hmm. When we teach kicks, right, spinning kicks, I'm going to use terms and phrases that I implement in my instruction, and I would love for you to say, yes, that aligns with ours as well. Spinning kicks, if you're going to be kicking from, left to right, that's 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, right? Comes out before the target, hits through it at 12. We use that clock, 2 to 10, 10 to 2. right? You know, instruction needs to get better, because when you said front kick, why aren't people squaring their hips up and picking that front leg up, teasing it? Who will who will do a blitz or any structured offensive move with a knee already up before they advance?
Right.
Rhetorical question. Nobody, right?
Yeah.
So, but why aren't people doing it? It's just because it's not common. Maybe some people teach against it. Maybe people aren't good enough or talented enough to do it in competition. But when you think about it, if you were to scale those hips up and pick that leg up, and my knee is right here before you come forward, who's going to go around that? And when you go around it, I can easily adjust.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, guys,
And-
just watch Savannah and Katarina. Both of them are doing that right now and dominating, you know, the women's, you know, fighting right now. So, I mean, and it really is that. It's bringing their chamber up. It's a front kick chamber. They can throw it as a side kick. They can throw it as an axe kick. You can do everything. And
But
they're
doing
doing
it a
it.
little different than what Marcel is saying. Like they open the hips. Marcel's saying square it. They
Right.
open it where their hips are completely open, right? One side's pivoted and the other side's doing a front kick.
Yeah.
Normal hips
either way, that knee up, nobody's going to come in on that, right? It's self-evident, not smart, right? Don't be afraid. So the karate school needs to get better. I mean, that the curriculum has to get better at its instruction. It's going to allow the student to get better at them learning. And then we need to develop a standard. These tricks and kicks are too complex. The athletes today are super talented, period, point blank. If you disagree, you know, you live under a rock, right? But they're hyper-focused with their talent, right? They can manipulate a weapon, but not their body. Or some people can manipulate their body to twist, but not kick. Or some people can kick, not twist, right? Some people are too fluid and not strong enough. You know, they're hyper-focused in those areas. And if they are, great. Let's have a judging standard. So CMX, before or extreme, you had to do one move that was more than 360, or one move that's inverted. No, people are too talented. You should have one move that's more than 360, one that's inverted, right? And we should hold you to doing two basic fundamental kicks, one on the ground and one with your body suspended in the air.
Yep.
That'd be jump front kick, right? Or 360 crescent. You know, or, you know, now you have to do that backside nine, and we're going to do an execution score. You do a kick and you're not spotting your target, white belts, look at your target, guys. You know, so just develop a standard and hold people to it.
Bro, honestly, I think that's the worst thing that I've noticed, honestly. And it's usually the first thing that I notice when teaching someone new or someone that with tricking and kicking is lack of spotting. It's really crazy to me is that, you know, and there's some people that I've worked with. So, and I'm just like, okay, let's just remember what's the focus today. It's spotting, 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 you know, look where you're going. Stop looking at the ground. If you look at the ground, that's where you're going to land. Okay. Your eyes go, your body follows, you know, where your eyes go, your body follows. Right. So keep the eyes up. Keep focusing on your target. And I think a lot of people are looking at where they want to land, you know, instead of where they're supposed to be kicking or hitting in the move that they're doing in the air.
Yeah, but I think we went to tournaments, 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
We warmed up our forms, not with things that were just in the form. How many pork chops did you see at the tournament and we're kicking?
Right.
You know, like we right? How many times? And there was
do marching kicks.
Yeah, but the thing is, every part of society has some type of group think and group action, right? You talk about like professional sports, for example. You know, you talk about in the NBA how like Michael Jordan's era, Kobe's era, they didn't train with people not on the team, right? And I'm not going to say that was a good or bad thing, but people socialize differently, right? Nowadays, we would Furious 5. If we said Furious 5 warming up, what we know what we're talking about, and you got like the basics, right? Aerial, butterfly, right? V-twist, 540, 720. Some people would interchange those. We're like, hey, we're going to warm up with the Furious 5. Like, we're warming up your forms with your competition, came from the same school, or you were on the same team at one point. But we were warming up with the paddle. And what we were doing, we were hitting the paddle. So we were looking at our target. That's why our 540s are upright. Before there was a side swipe, we would lay back and invert the 540, but our eyes were still up.
Still looking, exactly.
Still looking. Now, what people call a side swipe is a bad 540. They're not looking at the target because they can't.
Right.
They're looking over here. Because they're like, oh, side swipe's supposed to be inverted 540. You can go inverted and still look at something. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we never lost the concept of hitting our target with our eyes on it because we fought. And if we didn't see our target when we hit, we got hit. But you have tell a student right now to go spar. You might cry.
I a couple years ago, the battle, I did that, and I had all of my private lesson students and everyone. I said, all right, we're doing a kicking session for an hour or maybe 30 minutes. I forgot how long it was. And we did, of course, some flexibility, but we went across the room doing kick drills. Everyone had paddles. We're working. We're doing this and that. Basic stuff for you to get your mind focused for the weekend. So that way you're in the zone of what you're doing, you know, the way we used to do it, you know, and line drills and everything. And, you know, like the battle now, it's hard to even, I want to do that all the time, but now these tournaments start at 9 a.m. on a Friday. It's kind of hard now. It's insane. Yeah. No, I was saying we've just had a good discussion, man. All kinds of good stuff. But yeah, man. I mean, I think it's really, really interesting. You know, as far as that, it's just going back to the basics. You know, going back to what is. I remember, like as a kid, I watched. Let's see, I was in. I think we were at Colorado at Denver and Mile High Classic, and Omar Guerrero and David Douglas are doing paddle kicks with each other. And I'm just sitting like, oh man, this is awesome. All right. This is great. And the thing is, that's all I ever did. That's how we started class, myself with John Valera. Every single class was paddle drills, you know, and I'm just literally, it's just doing round kicks on them all the time. And that's how we did it. And then
rolling those hips over.
Yeah, turn them over, going through the target, doing this and that, you know, not just, you know, do your standing kick, do your all the way through like a Muay Thai kick, you know, so that way you can get learning how to do that when you do your spins in the air. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I feel like we just got to get back to, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's so fun just to do that. Just like one of the greatest things about martial arts is hitting an object, like doing the technique that you want to do and hitting that object. That's why like hitting pads is so fun because it's instant gratification. You know, instantly, did you do it bad? Did you do it good? All right.
Right.
And you didn't have, like, nobody had to hit you for you to know, like, oh, that was bad. All right. You just knew that was bad. All right. And then you get to do it again and again and again. And then finding a new way to do a roundhouse kick. Right. How many? There's not that many different kicks. Right. Front kick, round kick, side kick, hook kick, axe kick. And then there's some other ones. There's crescent kicks, wheels. Sure. All right. But those are basically it. So we're talking like 6 or 7 kicks that we create 200, all right, around, right? So that core group of actual kicks, right? If you're not doing those ones specifically the right way, it doesn't matter where you spin, where you jump. That is the exact technique. And when you get to train them on a pad, like a new way, oh my gosh, it's like a new Christmas present.
No, for sure. But I mean, I say this, man, there's no better feeling than your foot on somebody's face.
Well,
right.
That's the greatest thing in martial arts right there.
It's like, you know, you don't mean any disrespect, but when you can have your way with another human being,
Right.
you did your job as a martial artist, at least. But to that point, like even though I'm not in the industry of TV and film, specifically stunts, like a lot of people in our generation before and after are, I really do think that if, once again, we have a better standard of instruction and learning and competition, it's going to, you say rising tide lifts all ships. When you think there are so many people that go for, auditions, casting calls, right? They do the pre-vises, the pre-visuals, but they don't actually get into the film. It's because their martial arts doesn't translate right on camera. It's like, guys, we want a jackknife, 540, hook, face, target. Well, if you're not spotting your target in NASCAR or sport martial arts, and on camera, they're like, you're looking this way, and the target's in front of you. It's not going to translate. So the better your martial arts execution is, you can have better choreography, better execution, right? The relatability, from a viewer perspective is going to be there. It's going to translate into other, venues where you can use your talent, as best as possible. Because people keep spinning weapons and throwing them in the air, they don't look good striking, right? On camera. The speed, power, intensity dynamic is not there. And it's not worth the entertainment, right? So people are like, oh, I want to do stunts, right? Learn to fall. Learn to make the other person fall by your technique. How about that?
Right. I mean, honestly, like I'm just thinking right now, I don't know of that many twirlers that have made it into the stunt industry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just thinking about that, like the ones that have done bow or whatever were also really good at traditional weapon. You know what I mean? Like that was their thing. So
that's the only one that makes sense to somebody who doesn't already know high level martial arts, right? If somebody is watching a film, right, and you see a battle with a weapon, right, having an actual striking battle, that makes sense, right? Even if they don't know how to do what they just did, right? Right, but you could see that this move hit like that, like you can kind of see it, right? But if it spins in the air and they throw it up and then they catch it, like it's just too hard to comprehend. That people can't comprehend how to do that. That's why Bruce Lee was so good, because they couldn't understand what he was doing, but they could at least see foot hit face, hand hit chest. We've all thrown a punch before. We get how to do that. That's why it looks cool. But the stunts now are so incredibly difficult, but yet at the same time loses the entire population with the relatability. Nobody can relate to it.
Yeah.
Carmichael posted about the 720 challenge at the battle, hashtag missing targets.
I remember that.
That was probably the genesis to the exodus of technique, right? No, but maybe like wordsmithing here. You're like, people can't comprehend how to do it. No, but let's say they could comprehend how to do something. Can they comprehend or understand what it's doing? Somebody could, let's say we can do good at teaching them how to throw, boom. But one of the things that I've done with some students or martial artists that I've, had opportunities to train here and there is I'll show them their form with the weapon, or I'll describe to them how I feel about their form with the weapon, and I'll cover the top half of their body. And I'll show them the feet.
Yeah.
And just like, you were in the same spot for 8 seconds.
Right.
With
1,000, 1,000. It's like there's a whole, so I call it, ring real estate, right? You've got to go left, right, back. So you're like, you can't see the weapon because you're not in a stance, right? It's not like you bent down and we see the weapon. So just covering the top half of your body, you don't know what your weapon is if you're doing commons and chucks. So that means you don't have any versatility of levels. And if we do see your weapon, we just see the tip end, but notice your feet are just doing this. You're just standing up and throwing it. So we could teach you how to do that, but the average viewer is like, is that martial arts? You
Right.
know, what do they do? And when you're a martial artist, aren't you fighting people imaginary? Like it's the same person just there for 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds. And when you say it like that, it doesn't sound that intelligent, in my opinion. And so as an instructor, I don't want a student being in the same spot for too long doing nothing.
Yeah.
Gotta be versatile.
In reality, I'll actually give his secret away. He's retired. He doesn't fight anymore anyway. Good friend of mine, Hamid Farouzi, he would always say, he goes, I have a rule when I fight, I cannot be in the same place for more than 2 seconds. I have to move. And though his fighting style, he had to, right? He was a super lightweight and eventually just lightweight and would fight Ross Levine. You know, he could not stay in one spot, right? He had to. So it was so interesting. And I just started thinking about what you were saying, Marcel, seeing someone use a weapon and staying in one spot. I think the only person who did that, definitely not 8 seconds, but made it look good because their stances were so perfect, was probably Matt Emig, right? Matt
didn't do it that long. The current generation, there's so many people, every age group, boys and girls, just watch. Do this, cover that top half right there, and just count.
Well, the only time I saw that and I thought it was done in a way that actually changed the game and was creative was when Casey did it later on. And I don't know if you guys remember, but like later on, probably 2009, 2010, 2011, she did her form where she just stayed in the middle and did everything within, but now she went up and down, did this and that.
That's the thing, right?
There was
up and down. Exactly. Right. I'm talking to a person like the weapons in the air, 1,002.
Correct.
You know, what are we doing here?
For years, she moved all over the place. She said, you know what? I'm going to see how I can just be in the center where everyone can see everything, but then do all this standing with this and that. And the thing is, she didn't have to, even at that point, she barely was releasing the weapon. She was doing a lot of creative things that still are just super cool now, right? But yeah.
Lauren sent me her form from Quebec Open, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's so dope. I know.
There.
Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we had that conversation. It was at that tournament actually where we kind of did what you and I usually do. We just sat at the finals for like 4 hours just talking and just going and going and going. It was just awesome. It was like the most fun.
Yeah.
But you know, and she's someone that, I mean, to me, she's still the best all around competitor, you know, that there is to me. So the longevity that she had as well. And again, like she's one of those people I think that's in better, every time I see her, she's in better shape. You know?
Yeah, that's also not fair.
Yeah. It's
like,
not fair.
I understand that you still do martial arts all the time. There's a lot of us. I get that. You do it more than most. I get that too. Why do you look like you just picked up a boulder with one arm?
Like, because I care about my ball, though.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. All right. Let's see.
Let's do this. Let's do
this top 5. This is going to be fun. All right. So we're going to talk about top 5 double legs. And man, we have done so many different top 5s lately, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's hard. And honestly, like this is one of the ones where going back and forth, when we talk about this, let's be clear. We're talking an old school double leg. So you hop step or run step, like a pop technique, right? Where you're popping.
Not the J step thing.
Well, not a spin hook
gather
and put both feet up like a pair of fuso. No, we're talking the Misty flip. That's why we put that in there so people understand.
Yep.
Misty
flip. Jump off 2 feet, 2 feet in the air,
together,
land on 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
My top 5.
You want to go first?
I'll put David Douglas in there. You want me to go all 5 or just throw a name out and then y'all throw one out?
I'm gonna what Jeff and I usually do. Is we list our honorable mentions if we have them, and then we go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Is there anybody else that was close to your list that you want to at least share?
You want me to go first? Or Jeff? Jeff, what do you want to do? You want to go first or you want me to go first?
Be second.
Brady.
I'll go first. All right. I have some honorable mentions. Spoiler alert. Most of these names are not from this era.
Spoiler alert.
Let me say this. All of the names are not from this era.
That's
right?
gonna be all of us, probably.
But it's just not a move that anyone does, right?
Right.
When you do this move, you can't really do it in a combo. You can't go into this move from a combo. You can't, right? Because this move has a running gather, right? You can do it a combo out of this, which a couple of people have. We'll get to it. So that's why you just can't do that. So here's some of my honorable mentions. Alan Sandoval. I like Alan Sandoval had a really good double leg. I liked his.
Wow.
There's a few West Coast names here.
Yeah, that's a sure honorable mention.
Chris Tavera. Chris Tavera was so good because Chris Tavera could do it both sides. He was an ambidextrous tricker.
That's insane. That's insane.
And it was insane.
And Illusion were sick.
Bingo. Most people can do a move and they go into it. I believe he could twist, like he could beat twist on both sides too, right? It was nuts, right?
He still has my favorite jackknife, I would say, but yeah.
He goes straight up, right?
Yeah.
He does his head. He doesn't even lean. He doesn't even tilt. All right, he goes straight. All right. Another West Coast guy, Kim Do, right? His was great. He did so many different things, and one of the reasons why he's an honorable mention is he created something that nobody really did from the double leg. He did the rodeo, right? So
yeah.
I'll leave that as an honorable mention. Now
and he did the split leg too. That you know what I mean, like
Now this one I almost put into the top 5, and nobody would think that it would be him, and that's Anthony DeMarco. Anthony DeMarco
did have a good one. It was super clean.
Standing, no run, no gather double leg from a standing position, just torque yourself around. And I'm like, you've got to be, how do you do that? The guy did Chinese forms, right?
Right.
All right. Now to my number 5.
You said DeMarco, my bad. Yeah.
All right. Number 5. This is he had some good tricks. This is by far his best. That's Mike Gorelli, right? Mike Gorelli was good. Mike Gorelli was also from the time frame in the early 2000s where he did open forms, musical forms, and weapons. Then the form looked the same. There was all the same thing, right? But he had a great double leg. Another one from the same region, Matt Cato. What I liked about Matt Cato is Matt would do his, and then he would go straight up. He went pretty high, but then he also he would do like a quarter turn right when he would land too, which was so clean because it made coming out into an actual stance or strike so much easier and cleaner because of that. He didn't land, then have to step, land, then spin. Like he was already there. Now to number 3. Might call it controversial if you want. Adam Dingman is my number 3. My brother. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. We did a team form together, and like a lot of people who've done this, we did one part where I would go down to like a kneel, and he'd just go over me. All right, Adam would touch his toes at the top. He would touch his toes and grab his toes at the top. When we would do this, it got to the point where I was just standing. I'm just in a front stance, not a super low one. I'm doing a strike, and he wouldn't clear like my arm. Dude cleared my head and would go on an angle. So he had to clear my stance the long way too, right? Listen, I've been a part of all of them. You can make an argument that he might even be above number 2, but I'm not going to make that. All right. So Adam was good. So it's not just nepotism. Number 2 is David Douglas. Right. David Douglas could do both the double leg 540 and the true double leg better than almost anybody. And he did it as soon as the move was like, hey, we all saw the video game Tekken. All right. We're going to try to be Eddie Goro. All right. And so then he came out with it and right away was one of the best ever. Right. Even though people did it, a decade later. And then the number 1 spot, the highest double leg I've ever seen in life, Anthony Atkins.
Yeah.
So that one, Anthony did so many moves like that where the camera from the back of the room with Black and Blue Productions still had to go up and down when he would do his tricks. I don't know of anybody else that Wally had to do that for. So that's my top 5 and beyond.
All right. Who's next? You want?
Wait, what do you think about that, Marcel?
Yeah,
I thought it was a respectful top 5. It was a good top 5. Good top 5. I like that you gave some honorable mentions. Unfortunately, I don't give any honorable mentions. Doesn't mean anybody's there. What I'll do so that mine's not as controversial, I'll just give top 5. I'm not going to give them in order.
Okay.
And I'll say that Atkins was in my top 5. David Douglas was in my top 5. Just the execution, Anthony's takeoff, the hang time, depending on the speed in which you get off the ground, depends on how long you're in the air. So just in person, that thing just looked different. David, clean execution.
Yep.
Maybe some names of people, a name that people don't know in the NASCAR world, but Darrell Lewis.
Yeah. Darrell Lewis was good. Yeah. I mean,
that was
great.
His
double leg was good. It wasn't. It's what's crazy that's not even his best move. Not even.
But it was good. I mean, the rings were smaller when we competed.
Yeah.
Right. And the amount of real estate he didn't have to take to get that elevation, have that technique there. I'm gonna give 5, but I'm gonna be that guy and give a 6 person just that you put it in and out. I have Matt Cato in there as well. He could be in the top 5. He could be the 6th person, but he had really good execution, really good takeoff.
Yeah.
Nick Begley had a good double.
Yes, great one. I never saw Nick do it wrong ever. You see some people make mistakes. I never saw Nick have his feet apart ever.
And he would point them.
That was the person who in my head today, like, I'm missing somebody. And I'm seeing them do it, but the face wasn't popping up. I'm like, what is going on? No, I can see it.
His upper body posture took off here. He may lay back a little bit, but he finished upright. Legs together, to your point, Alex. Toes pointed.
Yep.
And you said, your brother may have been controversial because your brother, people may call this person controversial because how close of a friend, they are to me. But you can't argue with it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put them in the top 5 because of what they did first before anybody else. Kalman choker.
Yeah.
Damn.
Kalman's double leg was clean. And him doing it in that 14, 15 age group first.
Yes.
Toes pointed, legs together. You pause the video, looking up. And because his double leg was so clean, in my opinion, is why he was the first person to do double leg twist.
Yep. Exactly.
Right. So those legs together, twisted at the apex. So boom.
Beautiful.
Argue with your mama, not me.
That's a great list. I love that. There's so many of them. I'm like, how did I not an honorable mention? Nothing. What was I thinking? Kalman, one of the greatest trickers of all time. Doesn't even get in it.
Definitely.
But that was one of his first, like, this is his best
that
thing.
B-twist flash and that B-twist
flash.
flash.
That's what I was going to say. B-twist flash and that, And so
when he did the B-twist flash, that was one thing. But when he popped out that B-twist full on carpet at Diamonds, when it was 14-17,
Correct.
People listening, watching in the future, you have it easy. You've competed against 14, 15-year-olds, 16, 17.
Right.
It'd be a coin flip. This tournament, all of a sudden, is going to combine 14, 17 in the daytime eliminations.
Yep.
So, I'm 4 seed. No, who's top 4 between 14 to 17, and that's your Friday night competition for those people watching. You got to suck it up.
When I was coming up, it was 17 under musical forms.
And
then they moved it to 12 and under, and then 13 to 17. So it's like, all right, so.
Yeah, you see Carmichael's comment. Yeah, don't argue or debate with Marcel. I tell people, look, it's not up for debate, just discussion.
That's right.
You can discuss it. Let's not debate it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a win-lose situation. I ain't losing.
Oh, man.
Well, I like what you're saying too about how this era had it easier, but we also didn't have multiple cracks at it, right?
Yeah.
You had, at the time, there was not creative, musical, and extreme. There was open and musical.
Yeah.
That you had 2 shots to win a division. That's it. Right?
Well, no, you weren't allowed to do both. You had to pick a division. In the 90s,
well, and that was in the 90s, correct.
Multiple until
in the 90s you had 4.
And then in 98 was the first year that they brought in traditional and let you, but you still had to pick one, and you could have one form, one weapon, one fighting. That was it. And it was a lot different. So like one year I would do traditional, one year I would do open. I would go back and forth. And then, like some people would change if they were doing musical based on, if that's the year that Jimmy Pham is still in, in the junior division, and the one person, like when Butch Marks was 12 and under musical, when he moved up, he went into the regular open division to do 14, 15 or 14, 17. And Jimmy was doing the musical. That way he still had those cracks of, hey, I'm going to win this division and then go against him in the finals. The person that was smart and said, you know what, I'm going to take my time, and I'm okay. At some point I'm going to beat Jimmy at least once. He's going to mess up somehow. But when Jimmy's gone, I'm going to be the number 1 seed. I'm going to be the one. It was Calvin. Calvin stayed in there and did musical against Jimmy. And then when Jimmy was gone, he said, hey, I still have 2 more years in this, And then they eventually let us do all of it. But, when that happened.
I want to say something really quick to comment, just a historical point. And then, Jeff, Alex should comment, but Jeff for sure, because you were, essentially competing, very constant in this era. There may be multiple reasons or in different promoters or different tournaments, did certain things. But I think one of the reasons why there was that requirement, like you could only do one of the others, there were perks and benefits to competing back in the day. And the number 1 seed got comped at certain tournaments.
Correct.
A lot of the tournaments, right? And so there was people watching. Say it again, Jeff.
Every tournament.
Every tournament. At one point in time, every tournament on the World Tour comped the number 1 seed. So if you were number 1 seed, you didn't have to pay to compete.
Right.
Register, whatever, and you were comped. Right, you were compensated,
and you didn't have to pay if you won a NASCA title. You didn't have to pay for your membership the next year either.
Yes, and so I think if some benefits, cost benefits specifically, could start to materialize in sport martial arts, competition, moving forward, that was there in the past, or it could be different in its ways, would benefit, because the amount of money that people are spending to compete, it's significantly higher than before, and it's significantly expensive. And I'll say no specific names of promoters, tournaments. I love the circuit, but some of them aren't worth the money that the competitors are spending to compete at, unfortunately, right? And, so I think people will focus on their craft and their skill. And if they chase points, they'll probably have a different mindset at the chasing them, right? Not just show up to the tournament, like dominate your division, but to know that you weren't allowed to compete in certain divisions, you put a certain time, energy, and effort into one. And that seed meant a lot more when your parents didn't have to pay anything to compete.
Correct. And then also too, when you got to you got $100 for winning your division, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
And then remember they
real.
started giving first, second, and third place money to us adults for a while, and
Yep.
now they're giving half what we got before it as total grand prize money. I don't know how that's happening, you know.
Yeah.
But,
And you know, the biggest tournament in the world doesn't give runner-up money for grands, and it's like, you know, it's just, yeah, I know, it drives me nuts. Let me get to my a couple of my a lot of my honorable mentions are the same as yours. So, but there's a couple people I want to say. So I said Mike Corelli, Chris Devera, you know, all those guys. Jimmy Pham had a really clean double leg as well,
Agreed.
and super clean. And you're not thinking about it because he did it in the 2000.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
And
as an adult.
90
All right.
as an adult, yeah.
He
And
did
a lot of
as an
people did his adult year, but dude, that form is just as clean as some of the other ones, man. I mean, I love, you know, the
clean
offspring, right?
The best part of that form was the double sweep butterfly twist split. That thing was good.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Another one that isn't maybe someone that people know on NASCAR circuit, but I had to put him in here. And he was a part of actually helping tricking for a long time with the UTL, the United Tricking Lead, and his name is Joe Guarnieri, and he was based out of the ATA originally, and was in Charlotte, and I've seen him do a double leg over like 12 kids. Okay. And so he made a living doing birthday parties, and that was the thing he would do. He would do that over all the kids. And I thought kids were going to die. There's a video of him doing that. I'm a picture of him doing that. And I'm just like thinking that, like in the background, thinking that, all right, he's going to knock down some little kid somehow. He's going to miss. And he never did. And then he would go and break a piñata doing that as well. So yeah, so it was, yeah. So
I have an honorable mention when you finish. I want to thought there.
All right, so now I'm gonna go, and I think this is my order. Matt Cato, you know, I mean, one of the cleanest ones. Another one no one mentioned was, and he can do both, but the height of his double leg was Daniel Pitlock. All right, he may be one of the more newer ones of anyone's. His height was crazy, and he always had great extension. I'm going to go John Valera because to me that was the first one
I would want to put him on my top. Yeah.
And honestly, like the way that he came out of it was like people were like, "Was that a double leg?" What people forget. Now I'll explain this. The attempt for the first double leg happened on stage at the same time. Okay. David Douglas goes to do it and he slips and he like lands on his back. This is at Compete Nationals in 1998. And he slips and lands on his back. And it was like, oh, that was bad. Like, what's going on? Right. And then John goes and does it. And we're just like, that didn't even look close to the same because, you know, when David tried, he was just coming straight over and straight down. John does it. And at the peak, he like pops out almost like a pole vaulter, right? And that's how like he landed like that. And then it was just the most beautiful thing ever. So I got to put him in there. Another one is Mike Seafree. Mike Seafree had a great double leg as well, clean, and he could do both as well. And then Anthony Atkins.
Yeah, that was good.
Anthony Atkins is to me is just the height, overall technique is just crazy. Carmichael just said, Samano mentioned James Salas had a clean one. Yes.
For sure.
I thought about James Salas too.
Did it standing in competition in this form?
Yes, standing. Yeah. That's
and Marcus, good. Here's one for you, Ben Brown.
Ben Brown always had a great one.
Very good.
His shuriken was probably one of my favorites, you know, like, and the way he did that, you know, was beautiful.
Yeah, good flexibility and his kicks just.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right before you said that, I thought of one. And ironic, you said Brown. What about Manny Brown?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy doesn't get brought up enough, man. I think we should be bringing him up a lot more, especially when it comes
talk about ambidextrous.
Yeah.
Bingo.
In the dictionary. Mm-hmm.
Manny Brown was so talented and so good. And I think he had one of the more unlucky careers without being like really injured, because he'd be right next to like winning a grand or a division. It was mainly in the division, but there'd just be like this legend, right? That would be in front of him. Maybe like a Daniel Sterling, or then Steve Torrata,
He
or
would
even
tie
a
with
David
Mike
Douglas.
Gorelli often.
Yeah.
He and Mike Gorelli would tie often in commas or weapons. They both did the same weapon, comma. They tie often in empty hand. And they had they looked differently tricking, but I remember competing nationals, the things they tied, and like both of them did double leg split.
Yes.
And it was sick. Manny's was dope because it's flexibility. But concrete, right?
Yeah.
At the Washington D.C. Convention Center doing a double leg split.
Right.
Ouch.
Well,
Ouch.
Right. To your point.
But even then, when you said like tying, that's a great point. He might hold the record for how many times you can actually tie a form in your career. He could be up there.
but
But I'll never forget. Actually, speaking of tie, you had one of the more epic ties, right? Well, you had two of them, two separate ones at the same tournament, New England Open.
I was gonna say, New England Open.
But I'm thinking of the junior, 16,
correct.
17. It was a three-way tie for first, right?
First or second, one of the two. Like we would do tie breaks for like even just places.
Yes,
we would tie break for. But yeah, there was definitely a three-way tie New England Open. I remember that. And then, like Mark was in that one, myself, you, who else? Maybe it could have been Nick, or it could have been
Nick Begley.
It could have been a three-way tie with Nick, or it could have been one with. I don't think I three-way tie with Valdetta at all. Like there were some people that like you kind of know that like they are the one who didn't, right? So there really wasn't a tie with Kalman. Kalman beat you, or he lost. But so I think it's for sure not going to open. Remember that.
I mean, ties, man. Like as much as it's nice not to have to do them. I still miss the epicness of that feeling, man. Like
being able to be like, we tied. I want to put it back in my hands. I want to be able to control.
Yes.
I don't want simple math to be able to determine. Like I want another crack at this thing to show I think I got more juice left than you.
Yeah. And the thing is, we didn't have that many divisions, so like. Nowadays, somebody ties like, "Nah, I got 3 more divisions to try to get first." Like, that's it. This is Saturday morning, extreme forms, right? Yep. And after this, we're doing traditional in the sparring. So this is your last shot, right? Yep. Because there's no Korean, no Jap. It's traditional forms. You're going to compete against Jeff Doss's sidekick, or you're going to compete against Ben Coker's, traditional stances, or Brian Coker's traditional something like that, right? So. We did it. We went for it. And the thing that I liked was the intrigue, even as a competitor. You did not know if they did the same form, there was going to be some characteristic or attribute that was different. They were going to go faster. Same choreography, faster. Somebody's going to go stronger. Because there was no music, right? Yep. Even if there was music, right? They may purposely like turn the music off after the intro just so they can just do their own thing, right?
Right. Exactly.
Or they may do one little thing different, right? They may double leg in the first form, and then they may, swipe it in the next. And like, So if there was a change, it wasn't very drastic. It was just we really took pride in better execution. Nowadays, people are like, let me go double cork instead of single. Let me swing, and it's just like, man, I would have hoped you just got cleaner. You tied because you weren't clean, but that's an opinion.
Yeah, man. I love all of those ties, man. Like that's to me is like as a fan, again, watching Mike and John Valera tie 3 times at Compete Nationals. Like I won't ever forget that, and then Richard Brandon, John Valera, and Kim Do tying at US Open, like things like that. I mean, we had a three-way tie. I mean, I had many three-way ties in at Super Grands with myself, Brandon Birch, and Daniela Barrientos for traditional grand, where we had to go and go and go. And then even when they say, all right, you guys aren't going again, we're just going to point. We were still tied in certain ways where they're, okay, sorry, you're off now. I mean, it was just crazy, right? Josh Durbin and I tied 3 times at Super Grands, and I had a broken ankle. All right. And I'm like, all right, I need to not be doing this right now, but okay, keep tying us. We're going to keep going. You know, like it's just what we did. We weren't going to stop. 1 year in 2001, Jesse Jones and I tied 9 times during the year. Okay. And and that's a name that a lot of people don't know, and they should. Jesse Jones was one of the cleanest competitors and best competitors in that 99 to 2001 range. And he just stopped after moving up to adult, like right before he was about to. And we timed at least, I want to say 9 times, but it might've been 11, but we also were in the same region. So we would go to all the national tournaments against each other and all the local tournaments and regional tournaments against each other. And we would just be tying all the time. So a lot of things like that. Yeah. Double tiebreaker. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh man. So many good ones. I mean, there's just certain things that I wish people would, see about that. I mean, right now, the only way you can do that is if there's a real 3-way tie, and no way in which those are still epic. Those are fun to watch. I mean, seriously, right now, it's fun watching that 14 to 17 boys group right now. That happens many times with those guys, weapons or forms, and they're going after.
Yeah. Let's talk about the group, because we kind of touched on this earlier, but didn't really get to it when we were talking about, okay, let's talk about the groups, right? Like when you just mentioned, like that 14 to 17-year-old boys group, they have so many opportunities now because there's so many different divisions. When we talked about like the 3 competitors in Mike Chat, John Valera, Carmichael Simon, that wasn't that normal because John Valera actually did Korean, right? If that would have happened today, that couldn't have happened. There wouldn't have been a Mike, John, and Carmichael. But now that there's creative, there's musical, there's extreme, right? And then there's so many different options for that. Plus,
they want to run just 2 people now too. So,
and that's what's ironic to me. So if we're coming down to just 2 people, doesn't that just get us right back to where we were before?
Yeah, I don't
think for this.
Yeah, I don't think our sport looks the best just head to. I mean, it's good head to head, but I think, like that's why most of the time that last event at US Open, they put everybody in there. They put 4 or 5 people in there because they know it's just going to level up the competition. You know what I mean? You see that first person go and you're like, oh my God, all right, I got to go even more. I got to go even more. I got to go even more. And, I mean, I think that's something that is missing in most tournaments.
Agreed. I would like a little bit more than the 2,
Yeah.
A little bit more meat on the bone.
Right. And then again, the couple years where they would do a separate traditional grand and a separate CMX grand, but then they would take the top 2 from those and put them all against each other for the overall. That was pretty intriguing. And most of the time they didn't do the runoff during the day. They just said, all right, we're throwing everyone up there, and we got 6 people in the finals, all against each other, different styles. And then they would just say, all right, whoever was the highest of traditional will get the prize money for that. Whoever got runner up in traditional, of that. And honestly, it wasn't bad. It was fun. It was exciting, but I don't know, man.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like it's a literal question because I don't know if this could even be possible. So let's say tournament X, right, wanted to have, let's just take the men's forms divisions, right, as an example. All first place winners. You guys all get a crack at it for 1 grand championship, right? it's difficult because you can't really do that because you have to have a traditional grand
Mhm.
and you have to have a CMX grand, right? But so then what are you going to do? Is like, well, you lost to him, but now you get to go compete against
Right.
him again in this extra grand. Like, seems off. And I think the only way to do that would be is if you just said, all right, you guys all who took first place, you get to go now. And then later you do like, all right, well, let's do that traditional form grand thing.
Well, one thing too
It's hard.
that's different now that it was in the rules. One, things are way more traditional now than where they were. All right, let's just be honest. In the 90s,
Yeah.
people were doing showboating and things like that in their form because of what it was. Also, if you won Korean, most of the time you were doing a creative form or an open form in the overall. Marcel did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was
The
the goal.
traditional was the ticket to get in there. They didn't
Yeah.
require you to do what you won with, you know.
Right. So that completely changes everything now. So like even this weekend in Charlotte, again, Daryl Carter had a great tournament this weekend. There were so many tournaments this weekend. It's crazy. Jesse Ray, Joey Perry had tournaments, so many great tournaments. But like what he did was he did a traditional grand, he did a CMX grand, and then after we did that, we won our money, and then we went again against each other for extra prize money for that. So it was Rashad and I against each other. He won the open over Tim, and I won the traditional over like great competitors like Amber and Rissa. They had all of us together, male, female, everybody. And then we went head to head, you know. And so you don't know, like, are they going to do the open? Are they going to do the traditional? And truthfully, both of us had little mistakes. So it could have gone either way. It was like 3 judges to 2 on it. But you know what? Like, it was fun. Like, I enjoyed that because we're both saying, is it fair? Is it? Yeah, but at the same time, it's difficult, right? So it gets me excited to do it one more time.
I think one of the, it wasn't that didn't want to do, I'm speaking for myself, but then also a few other people in the generation. It wasn't like, oh, I wasn't confident with the form that I got first in to compete in grands. We would just ask those qualifying questions to the judges or arbitrator, like, can I make any changes and what can I? So there would be some people that would win a musical, but then they may not want to use music on stage for the theatrics of it. Well, that's a change. If I win musical and I'm not using music, or somebody won extreme, but they want to put music in the background, that's a change. So like if you could change any element of your routine, why can't I change an element of mine? So I would win creative and then I do a couple of tricks, right? I do, you know, Marcel Rush, you know, screw cork, or I do tornado cork, things like that. And so it wasn't that I wasn't, you know, confident in my creative, because to the first podcast we were on a few years back, you know, I mean, Alex talked about it, like I consciously chose to stop doing tricks and I consciously chose to not use music. And majority of my grand came with creative. So it's not that I wasn't confident in my creative, it's what could I do? And I would do that, right? I would have loved to do my Korean form against, you know, somebody else, because I felt confident with the technique and the intensity and the presentation of it. But obviously I knew there would be an advantage, you know, depending on who the competitor was. But as a black belt and as a martial artist, if you held me to a standard, I'm going to fit within it, right?
Right.
Like, I'm not going to be hypocritical, like I started the podcast with. Have a standard, stick to it. And they're doing that now, right? Japanese, right? And I like how they're really focused on the compulsory aspect of it, right? Let's make sure it's aligned with the essence of the style, you know.
Right. I remember when I first started winning traditional in juniors, and I was like, I'm going to try to make stage, because again, we all won, and then we did a runoffs in the top 3 or 4, made it to the finals. Some tournaments it was 4, some tournaments it was 3, some tournaments it was 2. And Jimmy Fan was like, Jeff, why are you doing your traditional? Do your open right now. Do your open. I was just like, I'm going to be hard-headed, and I want to be like the first traditional form on stage, because at that time it wasn't a thing. And I ended up not being the first year, but I made it several times. And it was just like, I want to hold true to that. Now, sometimes I look back and I should have done my open again because that would have been fun to do that. But you know what? Like that was just one of the things, right? And yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like talking about this to people in this year, like it's like talking a whole nother language, because they're like, wait, what? You're only allowed to do this? Wait, wait, what? Like all forms were one? Yeah, like literally in a division, it was Brian Ruth, Bernadette Ambrosia, Carmichael Simon, Mike, like all these guys that are, some are doing open, some are doing traditional, all of them are doing things. And literally Brian Ruth would win that division, one tournament doing extreme forms, one tournament doing unsu, back and forth. He's like, well, I'm going to do this time and do this and that. And like, that's
how dope he is.
Yeah, that's how dope he was. And then he would go and whoop everyone's ass and fighting. So, man, this has been fun. We can go on all night. So
for sure.
Let's kind of wrap this up, and we, of course, will have you back on. What's something you want to leave the people with? Just maybe an inspirational thought, or something that you want to make sure people know before you head out.
Two things. I heard a quote from a parent of students years back: perspiration leads to inspiration. So, the more time and effort you put into work and, that sweat equity, that's why they call it sweat first, right? That sweat equity, you'll be motivated and inspired, to pursue your goals and aspirations more, right? So perspiration, don't be afraid of the work. You get out what you put in, right? And so do that. But then also, my assessment of the current competitor, for the most part, male, female, boy, girl, is they're not confident in themselves as they should, but they're cocky. And we're like, well, how can you be cocky but not confident?
But you're right.
And I'll give you an example. And this is the example analogy I have. So someone goes and does a form. It's going to be CMX, Creative Musical Extreme. And someone does a single cork. Got it? And somebody sees that single cork and they have not trained to do double cork in their form, but they haven't trained it in their form. And instead of doing the form they've trained, the way they've trained it, which may have a lower difficulty level of skill set or execution in their form, they see that competitor that they're trying to beat and they have a cocky mentality and they say, I'm gonna do double cork. They did single, I'm gonna do double. Somebody does a bow release and they spin around twice. I guess that's the thing, or spin around 3 times. I'm gonna spin around 4. So that's what I mean. They're cocky because they want to one up their competition, not because the actual one up is better in execution, not because the actual one up is better in difficulty. It's just better than what they did in their opinion. So that's an example of how they're cocky. But the reason I say they lack confidence is because if they felt confident with what they've trained, they would just do that, right? They have a black belt on their waist and they know what a psychic is. And they've been told by the instructor it's good, but they're not confident enough to train it to execute in competition. So they take out the basics that they do beautifully. They take out the fundamentals that they do better than their competition. And instead they replace it with moves that, feed that mentality of arrogance and cockiness, right? So, the best way, in my opinion, to increase your confidence is to increase your competence, right? So the more you know how to train a move, the more you know how it should be executed, right? The more confident you'll be to put it out there. And that's, for me personally, that's why I took the tricks out. I love tricks. When you have tricks named after you, you can't say you don't love tricks, right? I love tricks. But I had to humble myself if nobody else was going to do it, right? You have to be your best accountability partner. So I was like, man, I have a really good flash kick, but Mark Canizado's is really better. Mine's really good. His is more consistent. So stop doing a move that you know is not as good as boom, because so it's not that I was cocky, but I'm like, humble myself, right? So I did moves that I executed to the best of my ability, right? And then I just wash, rinse, repeat that, so increase your competence. That's going to increase your confidence. And that's what I do as an instructor. I try to inform and educate my students.
Right.
It's like, hey, you're special. There's only one person in the world doing what you're doing. And that's a fact. Somebody could do the same choreography as you, but because they are not you, they by definition aren't doing what you're doing. And when I say that to my students, I really hope that lights a fire in them. I'm like, you're the only person on planet Earth doing what you're doing.
Right.
It's your job to stand out. So that's what I want to leave people with. Like, do not be afraid to be an individual, because you're an individual, awake, asleep, doesn't matter.
Yep. Be your true self, man. Do it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, how am I gonna phrase that to my kids? Like my kids.
Yeah.
Right? That's brilliant. That's fantastic. Can I just audio record this?
Hey man, no problem. Just make sure I get my royalties for that intellectual property.
That's right. All right, man. Thank you so much, Marcel. Guys, go check out and download the main app, the Martial Arts Center Network app. And Alex, let's go, man.
Hey, Marcel, you coming to Chicago anytime soon?
I didn't have explicit plans, but I would like to. Me and Tom Mikowski are really tight. We stay in communication often. I like to come up through there. So yeah, I want to hit the Magnificent Mile at some point, karate or otherwise. So I'll hit you.
Yeah. All right, brother.
Nice.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Ingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week. Thanks, Marcel.
Appreciate it.